Okay then, Bob, so if we look at these two setups here now, that left hand one, as we discussed there, a bit hunched and round in the setup, hands quite close to the body now. And because of that kind of hunched, shrugged up position, your body's ability to rotate isn't going to be as good as it was. So we can see when that club goes back now, as we said, focusing on that sort of short sort of mark on there, there's not really much movement in that hip or right leg at all. This is more kind of your arms lifting, so the arms now kind of working. Basically, your hands are going straight up in this takeaway, quite steep and picky up. As a result of that now, you then got to adjust now down to the ground. Club has to kind of get quite steep. You've got to steepen up that shaft quite a lot. And you can see coming the golf ball now, catching right on the end of the toe there. Now again, although this shot was kind of reasonable-esque in the sort of contact where the ball went, if you're hitting the golf ball continually off this end part of the club there, you've only got a very small margin of error. You've only got to be, well, millimetre or centimetre or two off to the right, and that ball is then shooting off to the right there, as it did on the third, you said, in that competition. So certainly getting a bit more space here now, a bit of daylight between the hands and the legs. And the feeling is now, if we sort of put that mark on your shorts, this needs to move in the backswing as you rotate. And you can see there now, much better movement now with that right hip, that right knee. Everything's moving back together. So the club now sort of halfway back is a lot lower in comparison. So we can see on this one here now, that same position, that club now is working up quite high, just quite steep and picky with that mark on your shorts there. Basically isn't moving at all, just sort of a tiny amount of movement more because the arms are pulling it back. So as we go back in now with a bit more body turn, it's a question of controlling how far the arms go. We could swing the arms a little bit less, but we still move the body nicely. As we come back to the ball, much more solid contact, much more middle of club on the ball there, giving you a much more chance of sort of correct strike, more backspin, more control, and then we can turn through that ball now, hitting the top part of the screen a lot higher. Now the ball would go a little bit far in this case. If we want to make a shorter shot, the arms could just swing a bit less, but the body in all cases, we said, is fully rotating to target. It's not just your arms swinging about here and then sort of basically making an afterthought turn as the club sort of goes past you and towards target. So even though it's a short shot there, Bob, we are going to be using our body in its sort of fullest amount there. Okay, moving the club obviously back now with the turning of the hips and that right hip, right shoulder. We just got to control by how far back the arms actually go. And I think of it in terms of if you were here, if you wanted to hit the ground hard, the club goes straight up. If you wanted a soft hit, club could go to about here, kind of quad high, knee high, and you could whack it down the ground, wouldn't have much energy. If you just the golf club up here above your head and then slammed it down the ground, there'd be a lot of energy and power. So by how high you lift your arms in the swing kind of determines how far the ball will or won't go. But we're still maintaining that body movement on the way back and on the way through to hit this shot. So hope that all makes sense. Any questions, obviously give me a shout and I will catch up with you soon. Cheers, Bob.